this is Marco once again here. As you guys saw my last video on my phase 1 of OCS with the 2-week process. Like I said, yeah, unfortunately I am in the traditional State OCS, but it is what it is. I just have to continue on in this long journey now. But I know some people wanted to know more about the leadership roles there. So the way the leadership works is, yes, you have your cadre, which would have NCOs, your officers such as your captains, and you will have your lieutenant colonel and all them as well. They're obviously the ones in charge of the OCS process at the place that you're going to be at. And you have your lieutenant colonels, your majors, and for the most part, the way the leadership works is you guys are pretty much going to be in charge of your company. Obviously, you're the one those that are in leadership are the ones that are going to most of the time get the most, you're going to get chewed out because you're messing up, you're not doing it correctly, or sometimes you're not even doing it the way they want it to go. There's certain things that you have to say it verbatim on how to do things, such as if you're like the one in charge of us, or you're in charge of the company, the way you're going to release us is you literally, when I was there, you're going to have to say, quote unquote, platoon leaders take charge of your platoon and move them into the classroom, move them into the dining facility, and it has to be quote unquote in that manner. You cannot say platoon leaders take charge of your platoons. You can't say that because the platoon leaders are only in charge of one platoon, not multiple platoons. So that's one thing. You can't say platoon leaders take take control. You can't say control. It has to be, you gotta take charge of your platoon. So you have to say it verbatim, and then that's where you get chewed out. So like I said, somebody will be assigned a CO, an XO, first sergeant, and then that's for the whole entire company. And then when it's to the platoon section, you'll have your platoon leader, platoon sergeant, and then your 4 squad leaders. And like I said, that changed when we were there. That changed every time around 6 o'clock at night. That was right before dinner time. It would always get changed out. So you will only have it for 24 hours. That's always the best thing. Like I said, phase 1 doesn't matter if you get a go or no go. It doesn't matter until you get a phase 2 and 3. They just want to see your leadership skills. They want to see your command present. They want to see the way you carry yourself. They want to make sure that you are able to lead a platoon, lead a company. They want to make sure that you are good to go. That's what that is for. That's why they put a lot of so-called stress into it, and that's pretty much why they I guess they want you to say it verbatim. That's something that I had to kind of get used to, but they do give you your op for that. It's all in there. It says it verbatim on how they wanted to say, or how they want things worded. So just be mindful about it. As long as you're reading that and you're memorizing those, you'll be fine. Same thing in the platoon level. That's where it mainly starts, I believe. It's where your officers, your 2 captains, and your NCO will be observing the platoon, and then obviously you individually. And they want to make sure that you're squared away. They want to make sure you're not that person that's getting called out, you're messing it up, you're showing up late. Certain things that are that are making it easy for you to get noticed. If you're being noticed in a negative way, you're most likely going to be called out many times. And they're going to obviously want to see your leadership roles. To the best of my ability, in my opinion, when I was there, at least, for the most part, and especially for our platoon, is if you were squared away, if you were the one, not getting called out on, not moving at the position of attention, not messing up, not making these little mistakes constantly, and they saw that you're, at least fairly squared away, or like at least squared away, and they saw your command presence already, and then they saw some type of leadership in you, or like the skills in it. Most of the time, you were not chosen to be in the top 3, such as like the CO, XO, or first sergeant. You were most likely either the platoon leader or the platoon sergeant, and sometimes you would have been the one of the squad leaders. But just be mindful, sometimes the squad leader doesn't get graded. They always want at least somebody graded by the time you're done with phase 1. Obviously, it's not going to be doable because there was over 150 people that started, and by the time we were done, it was about 120 for those 2 weeks. But they still want to see those leadership roles in there. Such as for me, I was only selected to be platoon sergeant. I had one of my buddies. He's prior military. He was only selected to be a platoon leader. So we weren't selected to be one of the big 3. Most of the time, the big 3 were selected because they were quiet. They were messing up a lot. They didn't. The officers or the NCO that we had for the platoon did not see, any type of leadership skills or any type of command presence. So that's why they put them out there. In my opinion, that's what I believe. Because that's what I kind of saw. Or they were messing up a lot. I did see that a lot as well. But yeah, for the most part, you will be in charge of the company. You will be in charge of the platoon. It will go chain of command as well. This is the time first formation is. This is the time the next formation is. This is the time breakfast is, lunch is, dinner is. These are the times classes are. And those are the hit times that you have to meet, including as a platoon leader and a platoon sergeant. You have to make sure, since you're going to be graded also, you have to make sure that your platoon is out there, your squad is out there, everyone is formed up, everyone has the proper uniform, everybody has the proper stuff, such as their salt pack, rucksack if you need that, any material such as your tarp if it's going to possibly rain, your CAD card, make sure you have that, your dog tags. Somehow people didn't have that, or they ended up losing it. So you have to make sure that they are always squared away. Land navigation is one of the big ones as well. The classroom work, not so much, because it's just a salt pack and then classroom work and pen and paper. Land navigation, you have to make sure they're squared away, because you have your salt pack, you have your rucksack, you have to make sure that your platoon and the squads have the items that they need, such as a compass, protractor, headlamp, or any type of lamp, sorry. What else? They have any type of writing material. What else was needed? There's a few things that are needed. There's like a handful of things, but you have to make sure that everyone has all their stuff. You have to make sure that everyone is topped off on water. We didn't utilize our camel bags. They made us use our quarts, our 1 quart things, and they had to make sure that those were always filled. If they were empty, guess what? You're in the front leading rest position. Now your squad leader just got a fail. Now that squad leader also made their platoon sergeant get a fail. That platoon sergeant also made their platoon leader get a fail. So it's like a domino effect. And yes, they nitpick on everything, but you got to make sure you're doing all the little things right, so that way those big things are so easy to correct. Those little things are the ones that are going to get you every time. Make sure you're always looking out after your battle buddy. Make sure you guys are looking after each other. Everyone's squared away. Make sure your assault packs, if the front has to be buckled, make sure that's buckled. Sometimes people didn't have that buckle. That was a no-go. So just make sure you're always doing that. Another thing is, you will always be in a leadership position, one way or another. It's not like basic where you're just going through the motions. You literally have to make sure, even if you're not in a leadership position, Put yourself out there. That way the cadre sees it, and maybe you'll get lucky and have a cadre just like we did, and you might not be called for that big 3. I'm not saying you won't, but as long as you're showing your leadership, they're gonna notice it. If you're trying to fly under the radar, they're gonna quickly notice that, and you're gonna quickly be put in leadership in the spotlight right off the bat. But just be mindful when yes, this is a leadership course. You're there for leadership, but make sure that you're helping each other out. You're not, I can't stress this enough. I know leadership is, very few people are really born with leadership skills. A lot of people have to learn it, and the way people have to learn it is you have to learn how to follow. To be a good follower, that's going to show you your leadership skills. When it's not your turn to lead, you have to learn how to follow. That's one main thing. Another thing is, a lot of people are very young, and that's where a lot of people mess up a lot. Because they don't have that leadership skills. Let alone, you have people that are 22, 23, 24 that just got their college degree. They have no knowledge of leadership. They have no knowledge of experience either. They just probably went to school, got their degree, and then that's it. That's also going to be a negative thing. But for them, there's people that do have good leadership skills for them. But a lot of times, you see that those are the ones that make it hard for everyone else because they get that, I guess, that power trigger that many people have. Like I said, I'm in law enforcement as well. You give a person a badge and gun, for some reason they have no more common sense. I have no idea why. It is what it is, but it's the same thing here. They have that power trigger. Be mindful you don't have that power trigger. You have to work with everybody. If you have horrible leadership, it's going to show, because you can't do this by yourself. Your go and no go for your leadership, it's going to also dictate, on your peers. And if your peers are really having a negative thing with you, your cadre is going to see it, and guess what? You're going to be pretty much getting a no-go, most likely. But you have to help each other out. That's the way it works. When I was platoon sergeant, I was able to get a go, but guess what? It wasn't because of me. It was because, yes, I got the word from my CO, XO, and first sergeant of what we had to do, but I also passed it down to my squad leaders. And guess what? I also had to make sure that the individuals that were there, everyone had to make sure that everyone was squared away. But guess what? They did it for me. I didn't have to. In no way did I ever have to yell. I have to yell. I didn't have to ever raise my voice at anyone. I did not have to put anyone down. I gave them a hit time, and I let them know, guys, you guys are over 18. You guys are adults. I'm not going to be babysitting you guys. But this is what I need. Blah, 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 blah. And that's it. As long as you're giving them that respect, give them that respect and trust. Yes, you have to trust them and respect them, but yet, you still have to make sure you're still looking to make sure that they're squared away. For me, I let them do what they had to do. I make sure that they were out in formation, proper gear, proper equipment, proper uniform. And guess what? Squad leaders checked, but I also made sure from afar, I was still checking to make sure that they were in the proper uniform. They had the proper equipment, such as their flick, their tap, their salt pack, their rug, any type of wet weathers that they needed. It got slightly difficult when it came to the smaller stuff, but guess what? That's why I had my squad leaders to fall back on. And that's how I got my go, because they helped me out. And you still have to do your part as a leader and make sure that you're still observing what you have. So just be mindful about that. But there was leadership there that they somehow got that power trigger. I need this, I need that. Started yelling at people, started, trying to belittle people. And that is the quickest route for you to get a no-go. That is the quickest route for your platoon and possibly your company to hate you in a heartbeat. Like I said, it is what it is. There's people, people are human, and that's all you can do. Being in law enforcement, it's the same thing. Being in the military, it's going to be the same thing. I've experienced horrible leadership in law enforcement as well. But it is what it is. Sometimes those are out of your control. You can only, control what you can do, and that's the only way that, it's going to help you in the long run. But other than that, make sure that, you're doing what you got to do. Make sure you're showing your leadership skills. Make sure you're showing your command present. Make sure you are showing that you are squared away. Don't be the one that you're the one that's getting looked at. That's all I can give you advice on the leadership roles. But other than that, like I said, for your leadership to be graded for the go and no go, it's only going to matter in phase 2 and 3. But other than that, guys, I wish you guys the best of luck. Like I said, don't be afraid. Put yourself out there. It is fun being in that leadership role. It's even funner when your squad and your platoon want you to be up there, and they prefer, your name being called out. There's no greater feeling when you are being ranked, because you will be ranked as well, not only by leadership but also by your peers. So in the platoon, you're being ranked. You're going to be ranked between 1 and however many people in your squad and your platoon. So for me, I was, somehow we ended up in a 3-way tie. I don't know how that worked, but apparently I fell in with 2 of my other buddies that were prior service. One was prior Marine, the other one's prior Army, and we ended up in a 3-way tie according to what our staff or our cadre told us. And because your cadre will tell you, this is where you're at, this is where you're ranking, this is what your peers have told you about you, and it's going to either be a good thing or bad thing. So just be mindful about that. And there's no greater feeling than when your cadre is telling you, and your cadre is also seeing it. Your cadre is saying, "Hey, this is what your peers have ranked you. You just tied in the top 3 with, these 2 people." Sorry, they didn't tell me those 2 people. I already had a feeling, because I told my cadre, I was like, I wish I was number 1, because I shoot for number 1 for the most part, but sometimes you're not going to get it. But I always shoot for number 1, and like I told him, I wanted to get number 1 solo. I wasn't expecting a tie, but I knew, these 2 people that I had, and it was funny because he actually mentioned it. He's all, "Oh, you obviously knew who they were. We can obviously see who's showing that command present and who's showing that squared away." So my cadre did tell me, but then they told me, this is what I can work on. This is what my achievements are and my improvements should be. So just be mindful about that. It's no greater feeling when you're up there. You can literally see it in people's face when they come back after the peer reviews and they're ranking in the middle or even at the bottom. Sometimes the middle is not too bad, but when you're ranking like at the bottom of your class, it's going to show. Your cadre is going to want to know why, and sometimes that could be a very negative thing on your on your peer evals, and then also for your cadre, because now they're going to be wondering why you are at the bottom. So just be mindful about that. Put yourself out there in a good way. Don't be the one that's trying to control everything. If it's not your time to lead, let somebody else lead. You can help them out, but do not step on their toes. Do not do certain things like that. Do not try to control things that it's out of your control already. You have to learn how to follow so you can learn how to lead. So just be mindful about that. When people need you, make sure you're there for them. If if they don't even come out to you, make sure you're looking out for your peers. That's one of the main things. You have to look out for each other. Sometimes it gets hard for others to be away from their family. Sometimes it gets hard getting, yelled at so often by the cadre because you're supposedly doing everything wrong. Just be mindful about it. It is all a mind game. That's all it is. But just go out there, have fun, and there's no greater feeling when cadre's out there trying to, break you, and you're out there and you're enjoying it, and cadre sees it, they get upset. It is a great feeling, at least on my part. Yes, sometimes I end up getting yelled at for it because I try to have that smile because I want to make sure that they're not getting the better of me. I want to make sure that their yelling is not gonna break me in any way. And then that's where I believe also that leadership skill comes out because you have to enjoy it. You have to make sure that you can still think, operate with sleep deprivation, people yelling at you. That's the so-called stress, and in the mental stuff that they're gonna try to, instill in you, and they want to make sure that you're still able to correspond and work and be able to function and be able to make sure you're making great decisions and you're still able to lead a company, a platoon, and a squad. But yeah, guys, other than that, put yourself out there in leadership roles. It's a great feeling. But if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about the leadership roles or anything like that, feel free to drop it down below. I wish you guys the best of luck, and like I said, learn how to follow before you can lead. That way, you're a great leader. There's a great quote that I ended up hearing is, be one that people want to follow, not must follow. So just remember that there's a big difference between those that they want, people that they want to follow, and then there's people that they must follow, they have to. And obviously, those are the leaderships that you have. And just like I said, wish you guys nothing but the best.